So there you have it. Once the enemy is dead, it is coming from different location, which actually makes the game a bit more interesting. Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to the third episode of the From Scratch series on the My Digital Makers YouTube channel. This is the SD from the SDChannel hosting this series so that we could learn to develop our own games together from scratch. On the first episode, we had the introduction to game development. On the second episode, I taught basic game development where you get to import your players, your enemy, and shoot the enemy, basic stuff. Now on the third episode, I'll be teaching you how to make a scoring system or some explosion effects when you kill the enemy or when the enemy kills you. With that said, let's get on to the video. Before we get to the video, there's an announcement that I would like to make. My Digital Maker wants to do a giveaway for the top few people who could make the best games with the Construct 3 software. If you're interested in this giveaway and you would like to know more details, stay tuned till the end of the video. On the last episode, we ended the program with the player looking towards the mouse and the enemy moving towards the player on every tick. The mouse on left click will make the player to produce a bullet, and when the bullet hits the enemy and the bullet gets destroyed, and when the player hits the enemy, the player and the enemy gets destroyed. We ended with this and it doesn't look good. So because when the player gets hit by the enemy, the game just stops. It just doesn't do anything. So we have to make it restart the whole game again, like a game over. Once the game is over, you restart the game. To do that, go to event sheet, and under the player on collision with enemy, you have to add something. Add system. Make sure you double click to open this system. You want it to wait for 5 seconds. Click on done. So when the player and the enemy gets destroyed, the game will wait for 5 seconds and then the game will restart itself. To restart, go to layout, select restart layout. So what you're saying here is basically after the player and the enemy is destroyed, the system will wait for 5 seconds before it restarts the game. Another thing when it comes to the game is that when the bullet hits the enemy and the bullet is destroyed and the game just stops there. So you want the game to actually spawn another enemy when the previous enemy gets destroyed. So under the bullet on collision with enemy, add action, click on system, create object, and you want the game to create an enemy, and this X and Y axis is where the enemy will be coming from. I would leave it to 0 as for basics. If you want it to be random, you can do that. Well, I'm not trying to complicate things here. For basics, we'll start with 0 0, which means the enemy will spawn at the top left corner of the game. That is coordinates. So click on done and you'll have this program here. Once you have this, we can actually try out the program. So I'll click on preview. As you might have noticed, the game is actually, it looks faster because I have changed the player speed. You can click on player on the left hand side. Under the properties, behaviors, A direction, you have speed here, max speed, acceleration and deceleration. I've adjusted them so that it would look fast. And for the enemy as well, I've increased their speeds and I've reduced the deceleration to 0 just to make it interesting. Well, it won't be fun if it's not fast. Another thing that you might have noticed is that the player and enemy is actually smaller. I did this because I wanted to give the player more space to move around and fight so that it will look much more interesting. Okay, once you have done with that, now we go to event sheet. Now what we want to do is that when the enemy dies, he just disappears. into thin air. So we want to give some animation, some effects, like some explosion effects. So I've designed a cloud looking object. It is updated in the previous link that I've given. It's in the link below as well. So you can insert them by going to layout, just double click on anywhere, scroll down to sprite. I will click outside because I don't want the sprite to be on the screen when the game is playing, so I want it to come whenever I command it to come. So click anywhere outside the screen and insert your sprite. Click on X and resize it to be smaller. Actually, you can use your enemy as a reference. You want it to be almost as same size as the enemy, slightly bigger maybe, because explosions are bigger than the objects. Okay, this should do. So I'm going to put it back outside. Okay, now to the programming. Whenever the enemy is destroyed, I want the cloud to appear. So we can add action under the bullet on collision with enemy. And before that, before we add action, we want to rename the cloud sprite to actually cloud. Once you rename that, we can go on add action, click on enemy. So when the enemy is destroyed, we want the enemy to spawn another object, which is the cloud. Click on OK, click on done. So you have to drag it up a bit under the enemy destroyed. So once the enemy is destroyed, it will spawn a cloud. And according to the current program, the cloud will spawn after the enemy is destroyed, but the cloud will not disappear unless you program it to disappear. So I'm going to move it down there, click on add actions, click on system, scroll down until you find wait. I'm not asking you to wait, I'm just saying it's a wait program. So we want the program to wait about 1 second, should do the job. So drag it up under the spawn cloud and then add another action where the cloud is set to destroy, so that it just destroys. Drag it up towards under the 1 second. Okay, now let's try the preview. So that's pretty much it. You actually have created some effects to show that it actually exploded, the enemy is destroyed, so that just to add some fun to the game. So that's one. And then now we will come to the main part where you actually have a point system. To do that, you have to go to your layout, double click anywhere on the layout, to then choose text, because your score is a text basically. Click anywhere on the layout. I will move the text towards the corner of the viewport. You can actually know which is the viewport by looking for the dotted lines. Let me zoom in. You see this dotted line? This is your viewport, means the screen that you view when you are playing the game. So I want it to be on the top right corner. Scroll down to the properties on the left, choose under behavior, choose a behavior called anchor.
Drop port anchor. What?
Anchor means the object stays in its position no matter where the player or the game moves to. So it will always be on the top right corner.
We are gonna die. You're gonna die. I'm gonna die. We're all gonna die. Just not today.
Let's drop some lead on those mud.
So now you can change your text to say score. Click on OK, and now it's saying score. Now to display the points, you actually need another text. The same method, just double click anywhere, scroll down, text, insert, click near the score, and then make sure you rename this to score up here. Once you've done that, adjust this so that it properly fits here. So whenever the score changes, you can see the difference here. And also add behavior, and again anchor, so that it always stays there. Before we move on to the program, there's actually one more thing that you need to do. You have to add a variable, a value to the score. So click on instance variable, click on add new instance variable, and rename the variable to score text. Click on OK, and your initial value will be 0, just to make sure, because when you start the game, obviously your score will be 0 at first. Click on OK, click on X, and now we can go ahead to the programming. Click on event sheet, and then you want the score to add on 1 point when your enemy is dead. So to do that, go to the bullet on collision with enemy, add action, and you can choose on your score here, double click, and you can, under the instance variable, you can click on add to, and each time the enemy dies, your score will add by 1, the value here 1. Click on done, and that's it. Once you've done that, you need to add another thing where the game will actually update your score from time to time, so that you can see it on the top right corner. To do that, on every tick, click on add action and click on score. Scroll down until you find set text. There you have it, set text. Click on next, and you want the text to be the points. Type in score. Score is the name that we gave to the text item that we added in just now, and then dot score text. This is the name that we gave to the variable just now. So there you have it. Click on done. So every tick, the game will actually update your text score to the score that you actually have gained. So now you can click on preview to see how is the game looking. So now you can see whenever I kill an enemy, the score adds by 1, and this goes on until the enemy actually kills me. So when the enemy hits me and the game is just basically restarting after 5 seconds, that's what we programmed it. So we have no way to actually win the game for now. So to solve that problem, you can actually add your own timer to the game. So go to layout, add another text, scroll down until you find text, insert. You want this to be on the top right corner, so that you want this to be on the top right corner. Change the object name to timer, and add a behavior so that it stays on the top left. So you add anchor, add an instance variable. So here comes the calculation. Now I have to set an initial value for the timer. The initial value has to be a accurate number, where when I minus the value 1 on every tick, and it would actually reach 0 after 10 seconds. To do that, you just have to multiply 10 by 60, because 60 is basically 60 ticks per second. So when I do that, I will get the value 600. So it's basically 600 ticks in 10 seconds. So change the initial value to 600. Click on OK. Click on X. Now we go to the event sheet. Like I said before, you have to minus the value 1 every tick. So click on add actions, click on timer, scroll down, instance variable, subtract from, click on next. So you want to minus the value 1 on every tick. Click on done. And you have to also update the timer as we did to the score. Click on add actions, timer, click on next, scroll down, find set text, click on set text and type in the name of the timer text, which is timer as it is here, dot, and the name of the variable timer text here, and click on done. So basically you have a timer which is set to 10 seconds and with minus 1 from the value until it reaches 0. And that's basically it, because you haven't programmed to actually end the game after 10 seconds. To do that, you have to scroll down, click on add event, click on system and compare two values. The first value you're going to compare is the value of the timer. So again, the name of the timer dot the name of the variable timer text. Click on enter. So what you're saying here is that when timer.text is equal to 0, click on done. When it reaches 0, you want the game to end. When the game ends, you would want to do a few things. First thing is that your timer is actually set to invisible. To do that, just click on set opacity and set to 0 and your timer is disappeared. So that only your score will be placed on the screen. Then add action for the enemy to destroy, so you don't want to have any enemy disturbing you once the game is over. Click on next and then you want the screen to wait for 5 seconds before it actually restarts itself. So you can add in system, scroll down, wait for 5 seconds, done, add action, restart layout. So that's basically it. You can actually click on preview to see how the game is now. One thing that you might have noticed is that the game actually seems kind of short because I just made it 10 seconds. But if you want to make it longer, it's actually simple, because all you have to do is just increase the instant value of the timer. Click on timer and change this maybe another 10 seconds, which is 20 seconds. So you just have to add another 600 to the 600, which is 1200. And now there's one more teeny tiny thing that you have to change, slightly complicated but not very complicated, is that the enemy have to spawn out of a random place or you'll just be shooting the same place the whole game. To do that, you need to know a few things. First of all, the size of your layout. To find out, just click on layout and then you have it here. So this is the size of your layout. It's 1708 on the x-axis and 960 on the y-axis. This is a count of pixels that are in the layout. So by using this information, you can actually set the enemy to spawn on random locations in your screen. So click on create object. This under the bullet on collision with enemy, we have done the create object, which is enemy. Click on that and then you can change the x-axis and the y-axis to random. Type in random bracket, and you want to have a range of values that it would choose from. So on the x-axis, as I said, 0, 1708, and on the y-axis, random 0 to 960. So now, according to the current random variable, your enemy will spawn at various locations. Click on done. Click on play. So there you have it. Once the enemy is dead, it is coming from different location, which actually makes the game a bit more interesting. So that's basically it, guys. You have a complete shooting game in your hand right now, where you get to shoot your enemy and kill your enemy can kill you, and there's some explosion effects, points, and it's basically done. Looks like you guys have stayed till the end to know more about the giveaway. Like I said before, my digital maker wants to do a special giveaway for you guys. And all you have to do to join is to make a short video of the game you have created with the Construct 3 software and post it in your Instagram or Facebook accounts. There are few rules to the giveaway. First of all, make sure you tag both the SDChannel and my digital maker in your Facebook or Instagram post. Second, make sure you follow both accounts in the respective social media. Third, make sure your post and your account is public so that we can view them. And fourth, and the most important of them all, make sure you don't copy others' work and just be as creative as you can. You don't have to be too technical when it comes to the animations or the effects. Just be as creative as you can be, because that's what we want. Top 2 of the most creative games will win this giveaway, and the winners will be announced in the DST channel and the My Digital Makers social media. So stay tuned. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode. Join me in the next one, where I'll be teaching you slightly more advanced gaming techniques, and I'll be presenting some of the games of your creation that I find interesting. This is DST from DST channel, hosting the From Scratch series on the My Digital Makers YouTube channel. Peace out.